live here. I have my friend David Hailey here. And look, this show, I know I'm letting you guys know that I'm going to give y'all a few minutes to get here. Today's topic is entrepreneurs raising private capital. Everything that you need to know. I am on a complete entrepreneur series. And if you are just tuning into the series, first we talked about buying a home while entrepreneur. Then we talked about financing a home while entrepreneur. Then we talk about the secrets of capital and what the bank is looking for. Now, today, in today's episode, there's more than one way that entrepreneurs can put money in their business outside of selling to your customers, right? You can borrow money to get to that next level, or you can raise capital. And today we will be talking about raising capital. And I have a very, very special friend here visiting me, Mr. David Hailey. He is like, my business buddy. David is like an entrepreneur just like me, but David and I actually met years ago. We're both I'm still doing M&A accountant, but David has turned into a tech entrepreneur. Listen, y'all, raising capital for your business requires a special formula, especially for entrepreneurs. And today I interview my former M&A accountant, my buddy, who has turned into a tech entrepreneur, Mr. David Hailey. And look, this is a treat for y'all because both David and I come from an M&A background, and he has turned into a tech entrepreneur. David is raising capital right now, at the top of raising capital. And I am interested to hear his story simply because, you know what? David knows the ins and outs of it. David is the CEO, like I said, and founder of Countifi. He is the graduate of North Carolina State University and Duke University with a master's in accounting and undergraduate in accounting, but he has given up accounting, y'all. And we'll hear his story and get all the dibs on raising capital while entrepreneur. Let's get to the equity, y'all, right after this break. Hey, David.
Spiceda, what's going on? How you doing?
I am doing just wonderful.
You look phenomenal. You sound phenomenal. I love the energy. I love it. Nothing has changed since we first met. Like 15 years ago? Nothing's changed.
Yeah, it was like almost 20 years ago, David.
we were both. I think we were both like 15 years old.
We were so young. Like it was before we were married, before we had kids. David and I used to be sweet mates, and we were teasing earlier saying that we both got fired from the same accounting firm. And so
that's when I realized I was no longer an accountant. I was like, you know what? This accounting thing is not really where I need to be. Let me do something else.
Look, I think that accounting was where you needed to be because you founded Countifi. So tell the people a little bit about Countifi.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time, like I say, in accounting. I left a big four accounting firm. I went to an airline. I went to Delta Airlines for a while, and I realized that airlines do not a great job of managing onboard inventory. That's the food, liquor, beer, wine you enjoy while you're on the plane. And so what I decided to do was like, how can we provide a function or solution to that problem? And I founded Countifi. And what we do is we use computer vision and machine learning to help our clients take pictures of inventory, and we count it automatically. And so we focus. Yeah, so we count it automatically using computer vision. So we eliminate the manual counting processes that airlines, hospitals, universities, construction sites, eliminate those manual processes that they have and do it automatically.
Wow, I love it. Okay, don't you be saying you left us in accounting over here. You know what? You are still an accountant. You just decided to use AI to do the work.
Well, I mean, things, you got to get smarter and got to get better, right? And so I was like, there has to, if I can't, I can no longer do the T accounts, the debits and the credits. Let me figure out a way to count a little bit better, right? And so
And
that's what
you have definitely found a way to count better. Now you work with airlines, you work with universities, and you work with hospitals, right? But your technology also works for beauty brands and small businesses.
exactly. So our motto is, if we can take a picture of it, we can count it, right? So it doesn't really matter. We have a hardware camera that we install in kitchen facilities for airlines, in storerooms for hospitals, for universities and other clients. We have a mobile app that you can go around. You can take picture of things. We train our computer vision models on what those items are, and then what we do is we return a dashboard, that says, yes, on August 4th, David Hailey counted this, right? And so all the detail, so you don't have to manually count, and it also keeps you honest. Really, there's a lot of there's a lot of errors in manual counting, right? People can fat finger.
Shrinkage. What about that? You remember that old word, shrinkage?
Oh, we use that word all the time. There's shrinkage everywhere. Shrinkage is prominent in the airline space. It's prominent in healthcare space. So we try to eliminate shrinkage. We try to save you money, right? From an airline perspective, we save you money on your inventory. We usually reduce those inventory costs. From a labor perspective, reduce labor costs. And we know with every pound, every kilogram of weight you have on a plane, it's a fuel coefficient, right? So we also help reduce those fuel costs, which can be huge.
David, can I just say I am so proud of you. Thank you for making accounting, making our job easier, because I know that, with that technology, it makes inventory counts easier. I never forget, as an auditor, going there and having to count that inventory, and then you have people who never counted it anyway. So, you definitely have solved a problem, and that's what entrepreneurship is about. How did you make that how did you make that decision? You're working at this major airline and you are an accountant for them, and you're like, there's a problem. What made you say, you know what, I have the solution and I'm going to create a company for it?
I think I realized once it wasn't, obviously I'm in Atlanta, I was working for Delta. Once I realized that it was an industry-wide issue, right? It wasn't just a one airline issue. I don't think it'd be very hard to start a company just for an issue that one airline has. So it's an industry-wide issue that I realized that the industry itself can increase controls on counting items. And how can we find a solution to do that? And that's what really is how Countifi started. Like, the industry itself has this huge problem. If we can have a solution to solve that problem, I think we can start a company from that. And that's how it started.
Okay, so you said, okay, we're going to start this company from that. Now you're in the problem. You're at the process of saying, look, I got this company, it's growing, and it's time to scale. I need more money. And you could either say, look, I'm going to go try to borrow money from the bank, or I'm going to get some money from my family. You're literally doing big boy stuff here. You're like, look, I'm going to raise capital.
Right. So, I mean, raising capital is not for everybody, right? It's venture capital, private equity, home offices want companies that are growing fast. They want companies that are growing fast and in a way that they can get their money back relatively quickly. And so what we realize that our growth trajectory is really high, that we have the potential to do a lot of things in a short amount of time, have a lot of revenue, have a really big impact, solve a lot of problems in a short amount of time. And what we realize is we can't just grow strictly off of revenue, right? Our revenue is decent, but we have to really grow and really to make the impact and be the size of company that we know we can be. We have to raise capital. And so that's where we are. We're actually starting a capital raise now, where we're getting our ducks in a row, getting our story together, making sure that we're shaking enough hands, kissing enough babies, so we can raise capital. But it takes time, especially in we might be going into a somewhat of a downturn, somewhat of a recession. So it might not be the perfect time to do it. But I think if you really believe in your company, you really believe in the problem that you're trying to solve, then
Yes.
it's not an uphill battle. You can do it. You can do it, and you'll have people behind you that will support you.
I think that, you know what, like so you said two things. You said you got to have your ducks in a row. And you also said that, you're doing it in a time, there's no perfect time, right? And I think that, and so let's first address having your ducks in a row, right?
Yes.
What does that look like? I mean, both of you and I are M&A accountants. I know you left us in this accounting world, but you are an M&A accountant, okay? You're an advisory accountant, and a lot of times people think that all accountants are created equally. We all do debits, we all do credits, or we do taxes, or we do this. You and I are kind of unicorns, right? Because we met because we were doing transactions, helping people sell companies or buy companies. I think we were doing buy side together.
Exactly. We were. Buy side due diligence.
Yes. And so I'm a financial statement specialist. So I stayed. You didn't love it. I love financial statements.
Right. It was not for me. It was not for me. It was not for me. But I think what your point is, like getting your ducks in a row. Every investor you talk to is going to want to look at your financial statements, right? They're going to want to look at your balance sheet, going to want to look at your P&L, or look at your cash flow statement, and understand where you are from a back office perspective, where you are financially. And
Yes.
so when I say get your ducks in a row, that's the first thing they ask for, right? Let me see your financials. Let me see how long you've been in business. Let me see your financials. What's your total addressable market? They call it TAM. What's your annual recurring revenue? What's your ARR? What's your monthly recurring revenue? What's your MRR? So it's those things that an accountant can help you solve, right? Because a lot of times, as an entrepreneur, you know what the problem you're trying to solve. You're right. I have an idea. I want to address the market with this idea and solve this problem, right? But all the other stuff, you might not have a whole lot of clues about how I'm going to get to that customer, how I'm going to sell to that customer. When they give me money, what I'm going to do with it, right? How do I categorize it? How I'm going to record the money they give to me. And so you have to understand that. You don't have to understand that. You at least have to have a person on your team that understands that, right?
Do you think it's better to get representation on that? Or like being that you are an accountant turned tech entrepreneur, and you even being an accountant,
Yeah.
did you hire an accountant?
Yes, we hire an accountant because we are talking to experts, Spiceda Jackson now. It's about how can we make sure that our ducks are in a row, right? Because as an entrepreneur, as either a sole founder or a co-founder, you can't do everything yourself. You can't do everything yourself, and so you have to find the people, the team that can do certain things for you, right?
Yes.
And so you cannot be an expert in everything. And I'm an accountant, and so I understand financial statements. I understand putting financial statements together, but my skill set is how do I grow the business, right? That's my number one job is growing the business and managing cash, truthfully. Right. So
You know what? You ain't never lied. You ain't never lied. And so I think that like sometimes people get it, not that they get it wrong. I think we kind of get it confused sometimes, right? As CEOs and as founders, even me, so I don't always count my money, but you got to make sure that your business has cash flow because that's how you pay your people.
exactly. That's how you pay your people. That's how you keep the lights on. That's how you keep the lights on, right? And so your number one job, like I said, is growth, understanding growth. How can we be bigger than yesterday? How can we be bigger than last year?
I love it.
Understanding your cash, like understanding your cash. How do we have? And number three is growing your team, right? Making sure I have the right butts in the right seats.
Oh,
Right?
Jesus. Look, we didn't even, how do you listen, coach me right now. How do you make sure you have the right butts in the right seats? As you understand listen, you just said, understand your growth. And how can we be bigger than yesterday? And a part of that is having the right butts in the right seats. Because you can have some good butts, but they might be in the wrong doggone seats.
And it's hard. It is very hard to understand what people need to be in what seat at what time, right? Because entrepreneurship is all about, or growing your business is all about timing. understanding like what your customers need and what value you bring to them, right? And so, and part of that is making sure that your team is aligned, your team is in the right place, and your team knows, like, because you can't do everything yourself. It's impossible. It's impossible. And so, what I see is a lot of entrepreneurs, especially on our side, truthfully, a lot of minority entrepreneurs specifically might not want to take additional capital. I don't want to give up any equity. I don't want to tell anybody my idea. I want to hold everything close to the chest. But you have to share that. You have to share that. You have to tell people how, like, this is my idea, and it's the best. We're about to be huge. You better get on this train, or you're gonna miss it.
But how do you share your idea through the fear of somebody taking it? Because in the tech space, how did you do it? Because you're like, well, look, somebody could have tried. You could have been like, I'm not gonna do it, because someone may steal my idea. Are you saying do it scared? But how do you protect yourself?
The funny thing is, everybody it's not really about an idea. How many times have someone came up to you and said, I had the idea for Facebook before Facebook, or I had the idea for YouTube before YouTube, right? It's really not the idea, it's execution. There's a lot of people that have the same idea. Is how do you execute on that idea, right? Because I had an idea to do a lot of things. I had an idea to build, I don't know, sneakers, right? I want to build a better sneaker, right? Or I had an idea I want to build a better T-shirt or whatever it is, but it's not the idea itself. It's how do you execute on the idea? Because an idea does not equal a business.
An idea does not equal a business. You are so darn right. But so one of the things that you talk about, and you glossed in, you say know your story, right? So in raising capital, you can have a great idea, right? But it doesn't equal execution. How do you connect? How do you execute on an idea? What did you do first?
First, I always say, and I always tell my team, because we're still a relatively new business. We're a startup, but an idea or business without revenue is a hobby, right? You're just doing something for fun because nobody's paying you to do it, right? So getting an understanding of who your customer is, understand your customer. So the first thing you said, how do I do it? I left corporate America and I tried to understand who my customer was, like who was the person that would buy my service. And so, like I said, we're an inventory management company. So our target is either a director or vice president of inventory operations, of supply chain. For airlines, it's a director or vice president of onboard inventory. For hospitals, the same thing, director of or vice president of supply chain or finance, right? You have to know those people, understand who those people are. So when you say, we always say, who's the person with the check? Who's the person with the checkbook, right? Because that's the person that will write you a check. And until you know that person, it's hard to say you have a business because you don't know how to reach that person. You don't know what they care about, what their pain points are, what keeps them up at night, what makes them look good to their boss, right? And understanding all those, I think, is what are the keys to having and growing a business.
David, those are some really great nuggets. Those are some really great nuggets. Like, so basically, we're doing a rundown on you. Like, where'd you go? So look, so those are, like, you've said a couple of things and I was like writing all these notes down. Like, okay, knowing the story, having your team, how quickly, and okay, like, it's so many things. I have so many questions for you. I'm trying to calm my brain down to, like, okay, this is live. I gotta calm my brain down. So my first thing is growing a team, right? So like you said that, in tech, people want to make sure that they can get their money fast. And, we all watch Shark Tank. Okay. And sometimes they say it's a great business without you, right? Or it's a great business, but you're doing all the work. And so, and sometimes they invest in your vision and your brain and your story. But how do you know? You're saying getting the right butts in the right seats. How do you know when you should not be, it's your idea, but you're doing too much?
I mean, that's a great question. If I knew the answer to that 100%, then I would already be $100 million company. I think you know when you have a vision and there's certain things on your vision that you cannot execute, right? You say, hey, I know I know I'm trying to solve this problem, and I have one customer or I have two customers, but it's hard to grow without three. It's hard to grow to that third, fourth, fifth, sixth customer because David can only jump on the hamster wheel so hard, right? And so you have to have processes in place so the business runs even without me pedaling, right?
Yeah.
Without constantly pedaling, you have to have the process in place. That's hard to do, truthfully. And we're still working on it ourselves to make sure we have a sales process, a marketing process, right? What does our product look like? How are we when we have an onboarding process or we have a person, what do they do? But putting those processes in place is not easy because everyone on your team is constantly working to get the job done. Like just do your core competency at a certain stage. Like right now, we're all working just to serve our clients.
Yes.
Right?
As an entrepreneur, I deal with the same thing. And, processes and developing your processes never stop. So, how much of you believe the capital raise in your expertise? How much of that do you think is contributed to process versus story versus having the right investor, versus knowing your worth and your value? Um,
Yeah, I think it's two things from a capital raise, and we're just kind of starting down that road. We're talking to investors on a regular basis. I think it's two things. It's one knowing your story, right? Knowing it down pat, right? If somebody asks you a question, you know the answer. And two is your network, right? I think one thing that we don't do enough of is understanding who our network is, who our colleagues know
that's
that
true.
might be interested in, because people, truthfully, whether we like it or not, people work with who they like, people invest in who they know, right? And so it's going to be easy, Spiceda, if you're an investor and you say, hey, I'm looking for investors. If I introduce you to somebody, it's probably a lot easier for you to accept that person and bring that person into your office and have a sit down with him or her, than it is for somebody emailing you, hey, Spiceda, I got a great idea. Why don't you please come in? Can I come in your office on Tuesday? Like, it's just the
No.
network. Exactly. The networks are so important. And I think we don't always invest in our time in that network, but that's also the process, right? That's what we have a sales process and we have an investor process where we look at that pipeline. Hey, we met a person or met an investor at a conference. We might have had a initial call. The next step is we might have a demo with them on a phone call. We might have visited them in person. Like if we haven't talked to that person in 2 weeks, we're sending an email, right? Sending an email, giving a call, like those type things. They can't all be in my head. They can't all be in the founder's head. There has to be a process that goes along with that.
Even that process, like you just said, even that piece of the process can't be all in the founder's head. And basically, what you just said was the process for going after investors. So, like, I don't think that we thought about, well, at least I didn't think about that as even a process that we need to map out as entrepreneurs. Those of us in the tech space, what's the process towards raising capital? Are we following it?
Exactly. I think the funny thing is, it's similar to your sales process, right? You have a sales pipeline where, I'm reaching out to people, either I'm cold calling people or I'm reaching out to them through my network. How often am I reaching out to potential buyers or potential clients? Like that investor process should be exactly the same. But the funny thing is not like it's all out there. The information is all out there. There's there's thousands, if not millions of companies that have raised capital. Right. And so that understanding how to do it is not rocket science. There's people who have done it there's people doing it every day. Right.
Yeah.
I think we have to kind of get out of our comfort zone, which is very cliche now, but get out of your comfort zone and talk to people who potentially might have raised capital before, right? There's networks. We're in Atlanta. There's networks all over the country. I sit at the Russell Center downtown Atlanta. There's ATDC, which is at Georgia Tech. There's Atlanta Tech Village, which is in Buckhead in Atlanta, that all have companies that have raised capital, raised venture capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's about, I don't know what I'm doing. Let me figure it out. Let me go knock on the door to somebody who has raised capital and ask them a question, right?
Yes.
And letting our ego go and say, I don't really understand what's going on. Can you help? Right? Can you help me? You'll be surprised how many people are really willing to help give you 15, 30 minutes to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But part of that too, the first step is having your ducks in a row, like having your stuff together.
Having your stuff together.
It all comes full circle when they say, well, let me see your financials. Let me see your pitch deck. You know what I'm saying? Let me see the work you've done so far.
Mm-hmm.
And that way it kind of, you can give them something to work with. Because if you just come up with like, yeah, man, I'm thinking about starting a Facebook for people between 12 and 15, and that's my idea. Like, they don't say, man, get out of here. You don't really have you don't have a business, right? You have to like have your ideas and your thoughts together, concise, so people can understand them. And you have to have an ask. Like, here is what I need. I need you to help me do this. I know I'm talking a lot. I got a lot to say.
No, you're not talking a lot. I love it. You know what? I love to be able to listen because I talk a lot myself. I'm just so appreciative of you taking the time to help entrepreneurs, know what they need to know to get started, and putting our fears aside and just putting ourselves out there. I would love to have you back again as you go into the process, because this is my space. I love business. I love the art of the deal, and that's really the reason why I started eXFinancial. I started it because I wanted entrepreneurs to have access to experts like we are. Right. And so we just have the benefit of having this expertise and not being afraid to ask for the money, ask for what you want. Right. Because a lot of times, I have a girlfriend, Lisa will always say a closed mouth don't get fed. And so it's what happens in this situation. So if you have a vision and you really want to feed your vision, you got to open your mouth, find the right investor, and know your story, know what you're going to use it for, and win the deal. So, David, is there any way, like as you're going into this deal, how can we reach you so that we can be a part of your capital raise with Countifi? And because when it goes out, I want to be in. I'm not investing in Google. I'm investing in you and what you got going on, because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we sometimes don't even see our business as having stock, right? We don't see the equity in our business. We don't know the value of our business because we're so big in the hustle. But raising capital is about taking a pause and knowing, the value that you bring. And I see you as a valuable person. I know that you're super duper smart because I used to work in the cube next to you. And so, I'm just like, I'm so proud to know you, so proud to be your friend, and thankful for you. And how can other people be a part of the journey of Countifi, becoming the next Fortune 500 company?
Well, I appreciate you got to speak it into existence for real. Like, and I really appreciate that. Again, we're here to solve our clients' problems. Right? We try to keep it as simple as possible, but info@countifi.com is how you can reach us. info@countifi.com is, you can email us. Our website is just countifi.com. So nice and simple. COUNTIFI is our website where you can reach out and get an understanding of what we do, like how we do from a computer vision perspective, what we do to help our clients save money, increase efficiency, and be better. I didn't even mention the entire sustainability angle that we have as well, but whenever you're saving money, you're saving inventory. That
Mhm.
it's an entire sustainability play that we have to help our clients be more sustainable. But yeah, info@countify.com. Countify.com is a way you can get in touch with us. We really just do LinkedIn from a social media perspective, but you can look at David Hailey on LinkedIn, or you can look at Countify on LinkedIn as well.
All right. So that is what we have for you, David. Thank you for joining me, and being a part of this conversation. This whole conversation started with David and I having another conversation, and I went into my whole tangent about how private capital is different from public capital. I didn't even get into that part with y'all,
We didn't,
but
we didn't get to exactly the whole theme
we
that we
didn't get to it, and I don't want to go too long. But my biggest thing is that what entrepreneurs got to realize is that the game is different. That you're not Coca-Cola raising capital. You're not Facebook raising capital. You're not Google raising capital. You're not splitting your stock, but your stock is still just as valuable, and the game is different. You're not a publicly traded company. You're not regulated by the SEC. But to raise capital, there are regulations and there are rules that you must follow. And to get started in the game, you got to start with some good numbers. Because I was going to say this earlier today. Numbers are the voice of your business. So that's what investors want to see. And you guys have to tune in and be ready to get where you need to go. It's not always with the money that you already have. You grow with OPM. And I call that other people's money. Either you get it from the bank, or you get it from investors, or you get it from your customers. But I want you guys to know and grow to your next level. I am Spiceda Jackson, CEO and CPA founder of eXFinancial Inc. We were founded to help entrepreneurs find the problem, solve the problem, and always have the solution. All right. Until next time, y'all, don't forget to move your profit in the right direction, and that's up. If you want to watch this again, okay, you can find us at accountantthisway.com. If you find your business in need of an expert, just like me, just like David, just like you just need expert help on financials. That's what we do. We solve tax problems. Go to accountantthisway.com or eXFinancialCPA.com. We would love to work with you, and you can always share this blog with your friend. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are always here for you. And that's what I have for you guys. Until next time, don't forget to move your profit in the right direction. And that's up. Bye, y'all.